So, Dr. J, I'm a bit embarrassed to say that I don't have a budget. I will periodically just like check my account to see where I'm at, and either there's money in there or there's not. And I know kind of when like my rent's coming through, but I'm not great at this. Let's talk about what is a budget.
Well, you're like just about everybody in America, so you're not weird. Budgets are it's like a four-letter word to some people. If I'm on a budget, oh no, there's a problem. And the reality is, a budget tells your money what to do. And my mom, all she used to say is that money burns a hole in your pocket. You got to spend it. That's kind of me. I actually, before I was getting budgets, I used to carry larger bills because I'm less likely to break a $100 bill than a 20. Forget it. It's gone. It just disappeared. A budget's telling you both what you can and can't spend. And if you go on the internet, there are hundreds of budgets. And when the question is, well, which one's right for me? The one that works. So this is a lot like dieting, okay? When you ask which diet is best, it's the one that works for you. It doesn't matter. Now, just like diets, you really can't mix budgets. If I was a low carb and a low fat diet at the same time, I'd just be eating protein and like my kidneys would blow up. I can't mix things at the same time with a budget. All right, Katie, right now money goes in, money goes out. We got no structure behind it. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Let's start with basics. So the first step is you got to know how much money you got coming in. And that sounds weird, but like we don't know that. So we're going to set a budget for the month. And each month it's going to change. So for example, if you get weekly paychecks or bi-weekly paychecks, some months you'll actually have more paychecks than others. So you got to adjust for that. Some people get paid twice a month. And I have somebody I did a budget for, it gets paid every 19 days. I don't know where that came from, but whatever. You got to have to know how much you come in. Now, by the way, if you have your own business or you're on commission, you know it's going to go all over the place. If you have an area where you don't have a clue, you're going to have to just take an average and start with it. So you start with how much you got. Then it's where do I want to spend it? Now, there's some tools. So you can pick up, you need a budget, very popular, Mint. We're going to talk about the money management system. We're going to talk about all different things. There's some in the right capital system. You get access through this too. It doesn't really matter. Some people like the apps. Some people, the old school is the envelope system where you literally put the money in an envelope. Some people are now doing that, and we got some tips and tricks we'll go through of debit card things. It's whatever works for you. So here's what's really going to happen. First month you get on a budget, it's not going to go well. I'm just telling you, no matter what, the first month is going to suck. I joke about it, but it is always true. The first month you go on a budget, something goes wrong. The hot water heater blows, the transmission car goes, you're out of work, sick for a week, something every time. And then what people do is, well, I'm screwed. I'm done. I'm never going to, this budget's never going to work for me. You tried it for a month. Next month, make progress. And we're going to talk about a separate video about how do I stay on a budget. And we got budget meetings and all that. But really what we want you to be doing is setting it up each month and making some improvements. The money management system that we use looks at what you must, should, could, and won't spend money on. You can talk about needs versus wants, whatever you want. But here's the thing. You need to tell your money what to do with it. So, Katie, if I looked at your budget, and I'm not going to do that live because that would be embarrassing, but where do you think your money is like falling out? We talk about holes in the bucket where it's falling. What's your naughty area?
So this one is very easy for me, and it's eating out because I have been working a lot of hours. I work a lot of overtime hours, and the idea of buying groceries, cooking, cleaning just all sounds terrible by the end of the workday. It sounds a lot more fun to go have somebody else make me a fancy meal and get a couple of cocktails, and then suddenly I have like a huge bill that I wasn't expecting. This one is easy for me to answer. It is in going out to eat, and even to the point where sometimes my groceries are going bad in the fridge and get thrown out because I was planning to make, dinners or whatever, and I ended up going out instead. So I'm getting like double waste.
And by the way, almost every time I do a budget with somebody, food is an issue for them. I mean, probably 95 times out of 100, whether it's eating out, prepping meals, whatever. The first thing is, and I'm not going to ask you this question because I don't want you to answer in front of everybody. The first thing to know is how much are you spending on dining out? And by the way, if you actually look at that for the last like 3 months, your head is going to explode. Here's an exercise for you. If, let's say, dining out's your problem or whatever your area is, take the amount you spend. So let's say I spent $500 on dining out. And you're going to go, wait, that's a giant amount. No, it's actually not. you know, Especially if you have a DoorDash habit where they're delivering and the delivery fees and the tip and all that. So $500 a month. Then I want you to do the math of how many hours you had to work for that. By the way, your head is going to explode because you're going to realize you're working a week or 2 weeks of your time just to pay for dining out. And that's where that gets dangerous. There are those, the Dave Ramseys of the world that are way about getting out of debt. And the way he says it is when you're in debt, you don't see the inside of a restaurant unless you're working there. And he's probably right. I don't have good enough discipline for that. We need to make some good choices. Interestingly enough, just some fun. I want you to do the math on the difference of dining out, eating groceries. I've actually had some people do the math on like HelloFresh or some of those services because it's like mostly done for you. It's actually cheaper. Depending on the people, I've actually done the math. It's actually cheaper to pay a private chef to come cook in your house than to go out and eat as much as they are. Because remember, you said to go with that were cocktails. You want to see where the restaurant puts big money? It's in the cocktails. And if alcohol is a common thing for you, you might need a separate line item for that. Because you're going, oh, I was just eating out, or I was just getting groceries. Yeah, but I also picked up a whole bunch of liquor to go with it. And all of a sudden, it looks like groceries, but it actually isn't. And we're here inflationary times. You know what? We may have to start shopping at Aldi's instead of Whole Foods. We may have to shift where we buy things. But here's the thing: without a budget, you have no clue. Dining out is one of our guilty pleasures for me and my wife too. But we have a budget for it. We stay within the budget. And if we run out, well, all we can afford is a pizza. You can dine out on a pizza pretty cheap. But I want something else. Yeah, well, you already spent it the other days. Or you have to start doing meal prep, all the other things with it. So there's a way to find that balance. The other one on that for food is learn how to cook. Okay, I don't know about you, but a lot of people, their parents did not teach them how to cook well, or they've never really picked up the skill, and now they are adults at whatever age, and they don't know how to cook. Well, that becomes a problem. The only answer is pay somebody else to do it for you. So you have to find that balance. And here's the thing: if you have a budget, you can put, I need $200 to go out to eat, and maybe I go out 4 times for that. Or maybe I go out for one really expensive meal. Doesn't matter. You start making those choices. Now, here's the thing, Katie. Are you going to cry if I cut out your dining out?
Completely. I think this is what scares me about a budget is I don't want someone to say like you can't go out to eat anymore because I love it.
All right. So what's the minimum?
I would say the absolute minimum is like I would want to be able to still go out at least like once a week.
Once a week. All right. At what type of level of food? I mean, are you like a foodie where it's hundreds of dollars to go out, or are we like
not hundreds, but maybe like a mid-tier place, right? Like not fast food, not like hundreds of dollars, somewhere in the middle.
Pick a number.
Maybe like if I go out and have like a decent dinner and a cocktail with my spouse, we're going to maybe spend like 50, 60 bucks.
Cool. That's where me and my wife are at, kind of 50, 60 is kind of where we hang out. Times 4, that's 200, 250 a month. That's fine. I'm willing to bet money you have spent 2 to 3 or 4 times that in the last couple of months.
I don't know exactly, but I also don't want to answer.
and that's my point. Is I'm not trying to sell you out, but that's what we all do. Okay. I look and see, okay, what did I spend for dining out last month? How'd it go? Whatever. And yes, when times are tough, I tend to eat out more. Yeah, but within the budget. So now what you start learning is going, for my wife and I, it's a social time. We like getting together, like having dinner. Well, you know what? Let's go cheaper places and we can go 6 times in the month instead of 4. That's the balancing act. That's what a budget is doing. By the way, it's going to do it for everything. Your housing, your expenses, in general, what you're doing. But you have to have a logic behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Now you're going to look at your dining out?
Yes.
And it's going to scare the living daylights out of you, and that's okay.